as president of Entomological Society of America, I certainly have learned that DEI is really woven into the fabric of what we do as a society, as a learned or a scientific society, but it wasn't always this way. So it's really only just a little over the last 10 years that it's been this way. And the reason why we have this is because of steady, persistent work. And so my first insight really is just that this is something that you can't really take your foot off of the brake on. You really need to be working steady and consistently to continue your work on DEI as a scientific society. We've made some pretty big changes in the Entomological Society of America that have really benefited members in the long run, but it only kind of is maintained by this steady and continuous work. We do this because on the one hand, we know that diverse teams are creative and they tend to solve problems faster. When directors or board members have been sometimes reluctant to go along with changes that we wanted to make that were related to DEI, we do always kind of try and remind us that this actually benefits science. When people say, "What about the science? Why can't we just focus on the science?" This actually does help us focus on the science, and it helps us kind of advance the science. But it's also for this other goal, right? Entomology problems are largely tied to the survival of humanity. So when we think about the loss of insects, when we think about food security, when we think about vector-borne illness, this all ties into humanity. And so there's really no reason why some subsets of humanity, some populations of humanity wouldn't be able to participate fully in solving problems that directly relate to the human condition, that directly relate to the chances of survival. So from a kind of a loftier goal, I guess, as a scientific society, we really want to make sure that we include everybody. Much like what was just discussed for the AAAS, we instituted a code of conduct as well as a code of ethics. And both of these kind of set clear expectations to our members about what the tolerated behavior would be, both at a meeting and kind of more broadly when people are back at their home institutions. And this is something that I think has really definitely benefited members, but it wasn't universally accepted. So my second insight is that even when things seem to be kind of inherently good, how could anyone object to this? This is going to be a slam dunk. There still can be reluctance. We are a large society with 8,000 members, and not all of the members are, as Jamie mentioned earlier, on the same kind of point on the path of of going along a path of learning about DEI and building their skill set. As a Black queer woman, I definitely have noticed that we can't say that just because someone is very interested in DEI, it necessarily means that they're interested in supporting the identities of all of the members of humanity, right? So just because someone is very strong or has very strong skills in activism for promoting LGBTQAI+ causes, doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be well versed in kind of doing work to stop anti-Black racism, for example. So there's a lot. These things, these topics are really multifaceted, and so we really need to kind of, when we make these decisions, know that people are in different stages kind of along their journeys. And also, just because someone has an expertise that might be DEI related in one aspect, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have broad skills kind of writ large for other aspects of DEI work.